Professor Selwyn Cudjoe on his first UNC platform, and this was a cottage meeting at Warner Park, where, of course, everyone gathered to endorse the candidate for Aruka Lopino, Dr. Natalie Chaitan Maharaj. Check this out.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, brothers and sisters, being here. And I want to say, hey, bye. But I want to say hi, Duffy, too. So we understand it right. Because we are at a very important stage of our social development.
Yes.
Not so much the PNM. It's but last year I endorsed Julian John up in so but the question is, where are we in this society? It's not simply a question of the treat us bad and so on and so forth. But in every society, you reach a point where you must make a decision whether those people who you've represented are acting in your interest or not. That's the big question. And whether I'm a black man, let me make it very clear, and whether or not the People's National Movement has served the interests of black people. No. Very important question. Because a society cannot go forward if all of the groups are going forward, but one is being kept back. And so it's a question, if we want to strengthen our society and go forward, each group must be at the table, and each group must be committed to that ideal. Now, we have a question here where, for example, if you look at the other party and the leader of our grief and sorrow and that fellow who has been doing his business, that there has not been any concern for carrying forward all of us. You start with a proposition that you say you are a democracy, but in your own party, you are not democratic. In your own party, you voice a leader on the people, and not one member of 21 members in the House or the State Council, no man could say no. No one can stand up and say, this action does not comport to what democracy is. And if you make your claim that you've democratized the party, and of course, every man has one vote, but when it comes to the National Council to have a vote, they say no vote, we're going to postpone the thing until the election done. That is not democracy. And if you do not practice democracy at home, you cannot practice it abroad. So at the very least, we start with an undemocratic process of where you as leader voice somebody. And I say to you, all right, you like Stuart Young, right? What are the plans and proposals of Stuart Young to transform this country? He has none. We don't know what they are because he never said it. And so the question becomes, how do we move forward in the sense that where do we go from here? We know that Mr. Imber, who was the last Minister of Finance, said to us, if we do not get the Dragon deal by 2027, Crapo smoke, we buy. There's a fellow called Donald Trump. You know this fellow? Yeah. And Donald Trump said, hey, you see that deal with Venezuela? That's dead. So it means that if we have to go by their own words, not by what we are saying, and Trump has already stopped the production, that by 2027, Crapo smoke be pipe. Number one. Number two, just in terms of economics, we know that any country, in terms of its debt ratio to its GDP, cannot exceed, or is not recommended it exceeds 70%. That's for developed countries. For developing countries, your debt ratio to a GDP has to be about 50%. In Trinidad and Tobago, right now, our debt ratio is 72% of the money we make, which means that we are already gone over that threshold. Number one. Number two, we know that in terms of the question of simply our budgets. And Mr. Padarak, what's the minister? Who's the input behind all the time? Mr. Padarak. Is Mr. Input behind all the time? Because for the past 9 years, you have had budgets that have been deficit budget. What it means in real terms, Mr. Jack Warner, and I got to thank Mr. Jack Warner for having me here. Somebody said, when Jack called, you had to be here. And Jack called me this year. I called him first. I said, you want me here? I said, but Jack, welcome. He said, you had to come here. And incidentally, this is the very first time I'm speaking on a UNC platform. And I'm speaking on a UNC platform because I understand how dire the society is. And real men and women stand up with courage for the right thing. Standing up for the UNC at this time is standing up for the people of Trinidad and Tobago in all shades and all colors. It is the right thing to do, and as you said, probably when you see what happens. All right, I hear you. So it seems to me, economically, we're in bad shape. We go again to the crime. The only reason why you have a national government is to provide for your safety in the society. So I could walk down this street and go down Eastern Railroad, and we cannot do that now. The crime has overwhelmed us. Remember when the leader of our group said to us that crime was a national problem or a health problem or some nonsense like that? What? Oh God, thank you, Jesus. Healthy, all of a sudden he said, the whole society is a violent society. At what point did we become a violent society, Mr. Jack Warner? It's a time when we can't walk the streets. And now you have a story where you said that we have a crime problem. And first you said, we're going to come together, join Mexico, and challenge the United States because of the guns coming and so on. I don't know where that went to. But at the very level, at the first level, we cannot enjoy our rights and freedoms because we cannot walk the streets and because of the crime in our country. We should not ever accept that. And the first order of business of the UNC when the win is to deal with the question of crime. If we don't deal with that, we got some problem. You should be able to walk down our streets. The second question. Most of the people in prison right now, I would say about 70 or 80% are who? You're frightened to talk about. We are the people in the prisons. Why are we there? We are there because we are not given the education we should be getting. In all of the PNM areas, the worst schools, the underperforming schools, are in the PNM areas. Is that acceptable? No. Is it acceptable that most people in prison are black people? No. And the question is not just about black people, because as black folks go, it affects the entire country. So it's not a question I this and I the other. We have that sacred responsibility to see that each group moves off in the social ladder. Equally. I ask you again, are there any black businessmen you know apart from Jack? I ask you a question. No. Do you know of any black businessmen? No. There are none. You give to somebody who has just moved prisoners up and down the road with all kind of tweet. You give them $200 million a year just to move people. That's $1 billion in 5 years. It's $1 billion in 5 years. All right? And what are you doing? It's moving black people. Your schools are not performing. These people are moving. And so you have the question that we shall be in a situation where, for example, if we don't attend to our problem of crime and black people, you can assure yourself in the next 5 years or 10 years, we shall be in another Haiti. And don't say it can't happen here. Joe, I went to Haiti, you know. I was asked to go and join a group to speak when Aristide was put on power, was supposed to be in power. I went to Haiti as a delegate. And we went and we were surrounded by Tom Makut. I was asked to speak for the American delegation. Because these guys could not even speak for themselves. I had to speak on behalf of the delegation. So don't say it can't happen here. We go into the interior of Haiti, the Schwarzenegger Hospital. We are surrounded by all of those people, those Trump in the vans. So it could happen here. The same thing is true with the ANC. I was in a political cell on the ANC in Ohio when we were trying to get Nelson Mandela. I accompanied Mr. Jack Warner. Jack Warner in your boy. He's supporting me. Jack Warner was responsible for bringing Mr. Nelson Mandela here. All right? But Mr. Jack Warner, the president of the ANC, was called Alfred Enzo. And I accompanied Alfred Enzo up to Harvard when he was supposed to speak there. There were only 75 people when I got there, when we took him there. 20 years later, Africa was filled. 200,000 people came to celebrate Mandela. In other words, you've got to stand up and fight if you see something is wrong. Yes. You cannot equivocate. There are laws of social and historical development. We see where the country going. Yes. I was looking at papers a few days ago, Mr. Warner, and I saw an 83-year-old neurosurgeon. There's a home invasion. They tie him up. And he was with the secretary or somebody there. You remember that story? 3 days ago. So one can't even feel free. I don't care what you've achieved. And no group can say they're free unless the other group is free. They don't stop at the Caroni and say, I'm coming down Caroni. So the point is, you're looking at the government who have betrayed the best trust of the people. And you're asked to compare Stuart Young, a guy who failed everything he did, because remember, he was the minister. His first job, really, is when we elected the PNM in 2015. They were supposed to lock up people, right, Jack? UNC thief. And we're going to lock up everybody. Has anybody been locked up yet? Has anybody been locked up yet? Because then he became the Minister of National Security. Remember that? And as Minister of Security, he did what? He failed as well. Now, how could you compare him with no experience, no stage presence? You've never heard that guy talk about anything but get a skeptic. He gave a speech, you know, when he became the president. Then my prime minister gave a speech. Everything is together we shall do. We shall have a new chapter. We shall have a new chapter. How the hell you can have a new chapter with an old pack can with all the jokers? How could you have a new chapter with old people? Not one person. The last speaker said, learn the attorney so that she can't even practice law. Am I right in saying that? What does she? And you're going to have a new chapter with that? Now you have a woman in Kamala Persad-Bissessar. Best. Now, again, we have to try to be objective. She has, in fact, a program. She has a record. She has led the country. She even had the I don't know, it's just stupidity to take the leader of our grief to Mandela funeral. As she has one. Oh, God. And yet, every day the man has cussed the woman. No. Oh, well, I mean, all them is bullies, right? The first thing this boy say, he gonna take care and protect women from domestic abuse. Yeah, the first thing he said, right? Yeah. I right about that? Yeah. And I wrote about a year ago, how are you going to, even before you say you're going to stop people, how are you going to talk to a leader abuse who told women the most derogatory way in this country? Yeah. There is no prime minister who have described women like a golf course, getting them ready And we keep on going in the most derogatory manner. And you say to me, your first order of business is to deal with that problem when you have not had your prime minister at least say he's sorry.
People stink.
Women are going to the bathroom. I like the book.
Yeah.
And he abuse you.
When he abuse you, boy, he talk what's up. I don't want to examine right? And you see your prime minister going to room and they're going to do something.
He's a man.
But apart from that,
Yes.
what would this guy say? Small thing? Jack,
Yes.
you're not helping members of But I'm saying, how could someone who disrespects women in such a nasty way assume the question of the president, the prime ministership, and compare yourself to Kamala Besessa, who has done such a marvelous job?
Something wrong.
Yep. We have a next problem, y'all. The other problem is, in whose interest will he serve? Oh God, wait, I'm coming, I know what I'm coming in that lifestyle. Jack just sent me some notes in the head. I have a headphone, so Jack sent me something. This is a guy who has had to recuse himself 137 times from taking part in government business. Now, what is a recusal? A recusal is a conflict of interest. And most of his recusals had to do with his father's company and his brother's company. No, let me ask Jack a question, because Jack is a smart man. When all key fun, big man about that. When you become the prime minister, can you recuse yourself 137 times, Jack? No. Who will take up the business, Jack? No. I don't. But she can't even practice. What's wrong with her? She can't even practice. So we're really going through. And we ask a sensible, rational people to accept that formulation in the new chapter, Jack. This is the new chapter. With all players and all jokers, but this is a new chapter. This is the same old pack of cards. With only jokers. Unfortunately. So the question really is, first of all, not even can we trust them? Are they capable of all the nonsense they did to change the wrong? There's another principle here that's involved. And the principle is, you know, again, the leader for grief had a formulation that the way he lifts up the poor is to what? Make the rich richer? Yeah. Jack alive? Jack demand. That's an economic proposition, you know. And he says there's an equation. So I went to have colleagues. I have colleagues who are mathematicians. I have another colleague at Yale who's a philosopher. I say, what's going on here, boy? So when he begins, he says an equation. It's not even an equation. It's even false economics. It's really Thatcherism at its worst. Reaganism at its worst. Not only illusion, brother. It's the rich for the rich and nobody for the poor. There is no one. And now you look at the cabinet and you see how much money everybody have. Oh, what is that shit? Since that? I can't call on the name on them. But what is the betrayal, the historic betrayal of the People's National Movement, is that it took a party that started with the poor, ordinary people with a picky head in them, and who put them in power, because the Teachers Union of 1946 and that black middle class put them in power, and all the poor black folks and Indian folks around put them in power, because they were supposed to serve the interests of the poor. And under the leadership of the fellow of grief and sorrow, you've now placed the rich in charge of us. That's an historic betrayal. Of course. And if you don't understand that, you know, you're ready to go back into a reverse form of colonialism and oppression. Because the rich never looks out for the poor. The rich, and so what we have, a government of the rich, you look at all of them, by the rich, and for the rich, is what we have now. And that's not a democracy. And what we say, that together with us, all of us, crossing party, all that stuff, forget your racial orientation. It's irrelevant. We are citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, and one of our most important aspirations should be interracial unity. Correct? And if you don't understand that, you're not voting for Kamala because she Indian. You're voting for Kamala because she represents the best hope for the people of Trinidad and Tobago to get out of their oppression. That's what we are voting for. And that's what we must stand for. And we understand very clearly that at this point in history, there is no, by the way, could you see Mr. Young? You said I have to meet Rubio next week? Oh God, he said we're going to meet. No, they put in the papers, he have to meet. He's not meeting Rode. They have a conference and they're going to have a tele team. He are meeting him. He's not meeting them. He's not meeting them. But they say that. But could you see Mr. Stuart Young, who says, I shall fight for you? I shall fight for you. A little boy, a little something, sir. I shall fight for you. Could you see him in a conference against someone like Donald Trump?
No.
Could you see him in a conference against the French Prime Minister?
No.
Could you? The guy has his language is inadequate.
Exactly.
His
and he has no charisma. Exactly. Exactly.
How will he represent us? And what has he done to demonstrate that he has the capacity to represent us in the international forum? Now, I only want you, I think my time up.
I'm enjoying it.
Oh God, nice. That time is a 1 year saying that, you know. Could you imagine just a little scenario? The leader of our grief is the man who has cussed the most. You know that? Rowley has cussed the most. Mother, sister, daughter, wherever. You want, I won't touch if you're in a cat or something like that and all kind of things. And look at the performance of Miss Cessa. People asked when she was in where were we last time? In Brazil. The gentleness, the concern for others, working together. She take him to Mandela. Don't forget that. He never takes you any place. And the most does he cuss you on every stroke of the moment. And I know about that. Hey, what's your Cudjoe says so. My point, if you look at the behavior of each, you see a total difference. Now, one of the moves from being a colonial country to be an independent republic is that your leader should always represent the best interest, your best interest. He or she must always carry themselves, his or herself, in a way that's emblematic of what the society deserves and desires. At the end of 10 years, you ask the leader of our grief, what are your accomplishments? Jack, could they say? They have not been able to report us. Every problem they have is in the leader of the opposition. They can't do so, etc. I look at this guy again, Young, yesterday, I'm not done right now. And they're going to fight for a new constitution, right? Yeah. Mr. Warner, they're going to fight for it. But what's the problem? They're going to fight the opposition. How the opposition comes into that?
Exactly.
A constitution is a shared agreement of interest among all parties as to how we'll run the country. But that's the only foil they have is the UNC and cussing them out because they're dependent on racial sentiments to figure they go carry it. They jump on myself and others because we stand and say categorically, we supported the PNM when we thought they were doing the right thing. For the past 10 years, they've been doing the wrong thing. And it's worth our while to make that resolve that come April 28th,
Pour them out.
but forget the ball out. Whatever you do, go to the polls. Bring your sister, your mama, bring everyone, because it will be a day of historic importance when we change from the old and introduce a new group of people whose major concerns should be and will be the betterment of all of the people of Trinidad. And as your leader says, when UNC wins,
Everybody wins.